Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our post-cabinet press briefing for Thursday, November 24th, 2016. This morning, the brief will be done by the Honorable Joseph Harmon, Minister of State. Mr. Harmon.
Thank you, Mr. Archer. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Let me apologize for the late start and for any inconveniences which you experienced getting into the Ministry of the Presidency this morning. As you know, security is a very important feature, and the construction work that is taking place in the ministry would have facilitated some additional checks. So let me apologize to the media for having been subjected to that check this morning. This brief will cover the matters that were discussed at Cabinet at its meeting on Tuesday, November the 22nd, 2016. First off, His Excellency President David Granger informed Cabinet that he had accepted an invitation by the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados, Mr. Frondell Stewart, to attend the celebration of that country to mark the 50th anniversary of its independence on November 30th, 2016. It will recall that the Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados was a guest of the government of Guyana for our own Jubilee celebrations in May of this year. And at that time, he was awarded Guyana's highest national award, the Order of Roraima. Cabinet then went on to discuss other matters. Cabinet approved a request by the Honorable Minister of Public Infrastructure for a feasibility study to be conducted in relation to the construction of a new bridge across the Demerara River. It may be recalled that a pre-feasibility study was done by the Demerara Harbor Bridge Corporation in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Infrastructure in 2013. That study concluded that a new high-level fixed bridge was the best option to be pursued. In 2016, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure advertised for suitable consultants to conduct a feasibility study that would lead up to the construction of the bridge utilizing the private-public partnership model. The ministry has since received an offer from a recognized Dutch consultancy firm, a firm called Levineski CSO, to conduct the feasibility study and to design for the new bridge, including a detailed investigation for prospective financiers, as well as the preparation of a private-public partnership tender document. It is expected that this feasibility study will commence in January of 2017. The Honorable Minister of Finance informed Cabinet about external loan agreements which are required by law to be laid in the National Assembly. Principal among those agreements was a credit line agreement between the government of Guyana and the Export-Import Bank of India for US $10 million to procure an ocean ferry to meet the transportation requirements of passengers, vehicles, and cargo in the Northwest District, Region Number 1. Cabinet accepted the agreements and directed that they be laid in the National Assembly. Cabinet, upon a memorandum submitted by the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, granted permission to fly Always NV Suriname as air carrier and Guyana Suntours Inc. as charter operators to operate non-scheduled charter flights for a period of 1 year along the following routes, that is to say, Paramaribo, Suriname, Georgetown, Guyana, Bridgetown, Barbados, as well as Georgetown, Guyana, St. John, Antigua, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. It will be recalled that Cabinet had granted approval to fly Always NV to operate multiple scheduled routes out of Georgetown to the Caribbean and South America destinations for a period of 2 years with effect from February 2016. So this is an additional approval. It is expected that the additional charter operations approved for this airline will benefit the tourism industry and other sectors within Guyana that depend on air transportation for the movement of people, goods, and services. The Honorable Minister of Public Infrastructure submitted a draft Civil Aviation Bill 2016 to Cabinet. This new bill will replace the current Civil Aviation Act of 2000 and will bring Guyana's aviation law into greater conformity with the requirements of the International Civil Aviation Organization. The bill, which comprises 149 sections and is divided into 22 parts, has been available on the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority website for a number of weeks to allow for comments by stakeholders in the industry. Of significance is the bill's express provision for the provision of air navigation services by a separate unit within the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority. Cabinet has approved the draft bill and directed that it be laid in the National Assembly. Cabinet has granted its no objection to the construction of an airstrip, an aerodrome, by Innovative Mining Inc. at Armata in the Cuyuni Mining District Number 4, Northwest District. Innovative Mining Inc. is a registered company under the Companies Act of Guyana, is involved in the business of mining and geological explorations, and has been granted several mining permits in the hinterland. The approved airstrip will facilitate the company's mining and geological exploration activities. Cabinet has approved the appointment of Her Excellency Ambassador Mrs. Marian Feldman as non-resident ambassador of the Republic of Austria to Guyana. Ambassador Feldman, who will replace His Excellency Gerhard Meyer, will be based in Bogota, Colombia. Guyana and Austria established diplomatic relations in April of 1973 and have supported each other in numerous occasions at the United Nations and other multinational fora. The appointment of the new ambassador of Austria to Guyana will provide for continued collaboration as well as enhanced bilateral relations. Cabinet has approved the attendance at 2 meetings of the African, Caribbean, and Pacific ACP, namely the 19th meeting of the ACP Trade Committee and the 14th meeting of the ACP-EU Joint Ministerial Trade Committee, both to be held in Brussels, Belgium, from December 5th to the 9th, 2016. The meetings will address trade-related issues of concern to the African, Caribbean, and Pacific group of nations, of which Guyana is a founding member. Mr. Sherwin Norton of the Foreign Trade Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will attend the meetings. Guyana will be represented at the CARICOM World Trade Organization workshop on trade-led economic growth in the Caribbean, to be held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from December 13th to the 15th, 2016. The workshop will be part of the World Trade Organization's technical assistance and capacity building support for small economies of the Caribbean. It will seek to enhance awareness and understanding of the factors that can enhance development in for trade and ways of building trade capacity in the Caribbean region. Mr. Sean Norton and Mrs. Kerry Ann Karim of the Foreign Trade Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will attend the workshop. Cabinet has approved the attendance at a meeting of the executive body of the South American Council on Security, Justice and Coordination of Action Against Transnational Organized Crime to be held in Caracas, Venezuela, from November 24th to the 25th, 2016. This meeting will receive reports on progress in action, lines of specific groups assigned to work on safety, justice, and coordinating action against transnational organized crime. It will also discuss issues to be presented to the fourth meeting of the Ministers of South American Council on Safety, Justice, and Action Against Transnational Organized Crime. Mr. Leslie James, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Guyana Police Force, will attend the meetings. Government of Guyana has accepted the invitation of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to participate in a training workshop for policymakers on drug reduction to be held in Campinas, Brazil, from December 8th to the 10th, 2016. The workshop will seek to improve the capacities of national policymakers in developing effective strategies that are compliant with international standards and international drug conventions. Mrs. Marissa Green, Research Officer in the Ministry of Public Security, will attend the workshop. Cabinet continued to grant its objection to contracts as follows. For the provision of consultancy services to validate the execution of works contracted for the rehabilitation of the medium and low voltage distribution network under the Power Utility Upgrade Program, Guyana Power and Light, for the sum of $454,624,823. A contract was awarded to Bayukshang Power Company Limited of Korea. For the procurement of road measurement data acquisition systems, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, for the sum of $107,775 United States dollars. A contract awarded to Data Collection Limited of New Zealand. For the procurement of an air traffic control simulator for the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, the sum of £330,000 sterling, a contract awarded to Micronav Limited of the United Kingdom. For the procurement of one computed tomography scan machine for the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, the sum of $177,717,428, a contract awarded to Meditron Inc. For the works required for the completion of the extension of the Chedijagan International Airport, a contract in the sum of $367,698,429 to China Harbor Engineering Company Limited. For the provision of operations service at the Lusignan landfill facility, East Coast Demerara, a contract in the sum of $25,700,000 awarded to S. Jagmohan Hardware Supplies and Construction Services. For the construction of a daycare center for the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, a contract in the sum of $35,877,040 awarded to S&K Construction Services. For the complete rewiring of the National Cultural Center, the Ministry of Education, a contract in the sum of $16,327,520 awarded to N. Balgobin Electrical Construction and Suppliers. For the construction of a new two-flat office building at the Ministry of Education, Region Number 3, a contract in the sum of $42,208,078 awarded to Builders Hardware and General Supplies. For the construction of the Brick Dam lockup, the upper flat, Guyana Police Force, a contract in the sum of $17,967,461, a contract awarded to Ivor Allen Construction Company. For the construction of pump stations at Lusignan, Buxton Vigilance, and Hope Enmore, Ministry of Agriculture, Flood Risk Management Project. Lot 1, Lusignan, a contract in the sum of $364,096,000. For Lot 2, Buxton Vigilance, a contract in the sum of $239,672,000. Lot 3, Hope and More, a contract in the sum of $412,656,000. Total being $1,304,456,190. Contract awarded to General Engineering Supplies and Services, Inc. For the extension of the Child Care and Protection Secretariat, Georgetown, Ministry of Social Protection, the sum of $33,619,190, a contract awarded to A&N Enterprise. For the construction of 5 apartment buildings at Sand Creek, Region Number 9, the Ministry of Communities, for the sum of $22,304,910, a contract awarded to F5 Building and Contracting Works. For the execution of river works along the Waikapina Creek, Akawini River, Region Number 2, contract for the sum of $19,213,900, awarded to AAV Ragware General Construction. For additional works, the rehabilitation of the access road to Higgs Bosch landfill, the sum of $50 million, a contract awarded to Geico Construction and General Services, Inc. For the construction of 2 access bridges at Caldingen Industrial Estate, Region Number 4, Ministry of Business, contract in the sum of $29,501,230. A contract awarded to CNJ Civil Works. For the rehabilitation of Monrepo and Railway Embankment Bridge, Region Number 4, these are additional works. Contract in the sum of $1,455,000, awarded to H. Knott and Sons Civil Engineering Contractors. For the rehabilitation of Goodforwachton Railway Embankment Bridge, Region Number 4, additional works here again, contract in the sum of $2,019,480, contract awarded to V. Dalip Enterprise. For the construction of an access road to to derelict vehicle site at Kurukururu Linden Susdek Highway, contract in the sum of $149,723,000, awarded to Iran Lal Civil Engineering. For the rehabilitation and construction of roads and drains in Bartica Region Number 7, Lot 1, contract in the sum of $41,510,925, contract awarded to R&B Investments, Inc. For Lot 2, contract in the sum of $35,157,640, contract awarded to B&J Civil Works. For the rehabilitation of roads and drains in Bartica and Madhya, Region Number 7 and 8, Lot number 8, Potaro Main Access Road, that is from the Denham Bridge to number 78 miles. The contract in the sum of 180,506,905. Contract awarded to A&S General Contractors. For Lot C, construction of Community Road at Madhya, region number 8, the Dormitory Road and extension of the School Road, a contract in the sum of $109,863,908. Contract award to B&J Civil Works. For the upgrade of generators at the Lethem Power Company, Inc., Ministry of Public Infrastructure, in the sum of $19 million and a contract award to Farm Supplies Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the matters that were discussed and decisions that were made at Cabinet. I now take your questions.
Good morning, Minister Danish Abroad. Sir, could you tell us a bit more about the selection of the Dutch company? Was it single sourced or via the procurement process at NPTAB? And can you say how soon this study will take place, will start, and how long it will last? And as I have the microphone, sir, could you say whether, in light of efforts to rehabilitate Guyana National Printers Limited, whether you think that in the not too distant future, it might be a good thing for that entity to recommence the printing of ballot papers locally?
The decision on the printing of ballot papers is really one which is made by the Ghana Elections Commission, and I will not tend to step over the line where that is concerned. The Elections Commission will consider all of the options available to it and determine whether, in fact, the security arrangements and the printing capacity is there. That is their decision. The question of the selection of the company, yes, it did go through the process. The work will start, as I explained earlier, in January of 2017. I do not have the date when it will be completed, but based on the extent of the work which has to be done, we advise that they will basically try to push it so at least we can have a bridge in a reasonable time.
And would the location be the same?
Well, I can't say that right now.
The pre-feasibility didn't indicate whether it should be the same location.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't tell you that right now.
So, there are those ways. Sir, as it relates to Guyana's ambassador to Kuwait, sir, could you say if the credentials of Ambassador Dr. Shamir Ali were sent off, even though Mr. Ali was a convicted felon, and also if the Kuwait government is engaging with Mr. Ali with Dr. Ali at this point in time?
Well, I did indicate that matter earlier in one of my previous cabinet briefings, and I'd prefer if you can deal with the matters here that are on the brief itself, and the matters which are off the brief, I can take that separately. So let's deal with it on the brief matters first.
Very well, sir.
Adam Harris, sir, still on the Demerara Harbor Bridge. This is going to be a high-rise bridge, and there was that feasibility. What is the second feasibility about?
Well, in these types of construction, you have what you call pre-feasibility, then feasibility. So we're at the second stage. The pre-feasibility examines several things that are required to be examined, and they sort of narrow down the options for the feasibility. So the feasibility has a more limited area which they have to consider. As I did indicate to you, they have to consider the model, the private-public partnership model. They have to consider the tender documents. They have to look at various sites, the sites that might have been in the pre-feasibility, and to actually determine whether, in fact, this is something that we can go forward with. This is the final stage of feasibilities before you actually get to construction. Yes.
And did I hear you say that this company would also be looking at sources of funding? For example, they can tap into, let's say, the Chinese bank or the Indian bank or whatever?
Yes, it's the model, the private-public partnership model. And I did in fact say that they will also be looking at the financing of the project.
Could you spell the name of the company, please?
I'll
Sorry to put you through that, but it's important.
all right. You want to go and research the company? That's good. I like that. It's spelled LeivenseCso.
Good morning, sir. Just two quick questions in relation to the Durban Park project. The
So we're
opposition.
off the brief now. Okay, yes, let's go.
The opposition has since accused the government of being far from transparent as it relates to the financing of the Durban Park project. And it has also uncovered that a company by the name of Homestretch Development, Inc. Was conducting some works for the project, but this was never known before until recently. How do you respond to such comments, and why is it a company was set up in the first place to collect donations and the ministry was not tasked with that responsibility?
Okay, well, a number of these questions were answered by the Minister of Public Infrastructure in a debate in the National Assembly a few days ago. But let me say a couple of things on this matter, because I think it's important for the people to understand that what we were doing was converting what was jungle, many of you know that, into a public space for a public good. And I think I can go back a little bit of history, maybe into a time when many here were not born. That when we became independent in 1966, the preparations for the celebrations that were going to mark that occasion, in the contemplation of the planners at that time, they were looking to accommodate at least 50,000 persons for those celebrations. And I can get the chronicle of that date for you, which is on the headline. Organizers looking to accommodate 50,000 persons for independence. That was in 1966. 50 years later, in 2016, 1 year before that, President Granger is elected. The general atmosphere in the country is lifted. People feel light. People are happy about this. So that in its inauguration, in fact, even before the inauguration, the 26th of May, 2015, the independence celebration was held at the site, not the stadium, out here, by the monument. There was a massive cleaning up for that. And so that was a general cleanup, which actually captured the cooperative spirits of Guyanese people and brought them out in large numbers, not only just to clean up Georgetown, but to clean up their own environment. There are some people who I met subsequently in the United States that said to me that this thing was so electrifying that they went out to clean out their own yard and so on in America, where they live. People actually came to myself and Minister Cathy Hughes when we went to the United States to say that. But let me say this, that after we saw what happened there, and then the inauguration of President Granger at the National Stadium, we recognized then that if we were to accommodate any number of persons, in addition or in excess of 20,000 persons, we had a major problem. We looked at the stadium, at the inauguration, and I believe we were somewhere in the vicinity of 17,000 or thereabouts. And people were all on the streets, in the cars and so on, and couldn't get into the venue. So we had a challenge of actually finding a venue that can accommodate that number of persons. And so the stadium was not sufficient. The national park couldn't do it. And we then had to challenge ourselves to find a venue that can accommodate that number of persons. And so I believe that challenging ourselves as a nation, after 50 years, to be able to just accommodate 50,000 persons was a big challenge. And we looked all around the country as to where when we accommodate 50,000 persons or thereabouts. And the Durban Park became the central focus of that search. It was cleaned up, and we did all the checks and so on to see whether, in fact, you can accommodate 50,000 persons here. There are different models which were looked at, where you have some place where people just stand and you have a raised platform for performances, or whether, in fact, you have some place where you can have a central space for parades and other activities, and people can actually sit around and look at it. So that basically was the genesis of finding Durban Park as a space for that purpose. People became enthused with the cleaning up, and many, many Guyanese came out and gave their support willingly. And as I said to you earlier, it did not only occur in Georgetown, but occurred in several parts of this country, where people actually came out, they gave of their labor, they gave of their money, people actually started cooking food for those persons who were cleaning up. And that is the cooperative spirit which we caught, which we captured in these activities. So that when the project started, it really was about private citizens coming forward to clean up a public place for a public good. And I want to make this distinction between what happened there at Durban Park and what happened in the previous administration. The previous administration, they were using public assets for the benefit of a private few. And we need to clarify that, make that very clear to Bishop Edgell and all others, that this was private citizens contributing to a public good, as opposed to taking public asset and converting it to private good or private benefit. So that was the genesis of it. It started, the project started with a few persons who were well-meaning and wanted to see the project come to a certain point before the 23rd of February, 2016, when we are going to celebrate our the Republican status of our country. The work started. As I said, people made contributions. In fact, I can say this to you, that a number of the persons who live along Hatfield Street, when the cleaning up started, they came out with food, with drinks and so on for the people who were working, and they felt that this was their contribution to a different kind of Guyana that we were trying to build. So when it became evident that that model could not complete this project within a certain time, it became necessary to establish a company, because you started then to deal not just with private individuals, you had to start to deal with the corporate sector to make this project work. The persons who are dealing with the project did in fact approach the private sector, they approached private individuals, they made presentations to the Private Sector Commission. They made presentations to the residents of Hatfield Street and Lodge and explained to them what was going to happen. There's a public display of what the project is going to look like and all of these things. So that the time when the company was established did not coincide with the time the work started, because it started as private citizens coming forward and giving of their time and of their resources. And I want to say publicly that we have to thank those persons who came out and gave of their time and their resources. The company, after it was established, it was felt that because we were pushing for February 23rd and May 26th, that these activities fell under the direction and control of the Ministry of Education. A National Commemoration Commission was established, of which Dr. Upnain was the chairman of that commission. That commission overlooked all of these things, the preparation for February 23rd and in particular May 26th. And so that is how Dr. Rupnarayan became part of that company that was tasked specifically with the development of the Durban Park facility. And yes, it was published, the company was registered in the deeds registry, and that is noticed to the world, that this company, it was not a secret company, because you can't have a secret company when you have to register it in the deeds registry. And it was so registered. So that's insofar as the registration of the company, the involvement of the ministry is concerned. And I want to say that the company has done excellent work with the resources which it had at its availability. When it became evident again that that model of using the private company could not complete in time for the 2016 Jubilee celebrations in May, a decision was made that the Ministry of Public Infrastructure will take charge of the project and complete it. So that is where we are, and I want to say that since then, a number of public organizations have utilized the park. Church organizations, scout groups, the Guyana Congress of Seventh-day Adventists, the Ministry of Education, you recall the National Education Month and the celebration of Education Month there. The celebration of our 23rd of February, the Civil Defense Commission, the Guyana Fire Service, several private individuals have requested and have been granted permission for the use of that space. And we continue to receive applications for the use of the space, and we believe it is a public good. It serves a public good, and I think, in my own view, that the opposition that is actually raising certain matters about what they think is some kind of and not in transparency issues, their major concern, as I see it, is to bring down that pride, that sense of Guyanese-ness, which came out, that outpouring which came out. And they themselves felt that this was something that they could not have done in the 23 years. So every attempt that they can have, every effort they make to see how they can peg it back a little bit, that is what is going on. That is my view.
Gordon Mosley, News Source. Mr. Harmon, sir, could you indicate whether the president has yet written to the leader of the opposition with regard to the GCOM chairman and his resignation? Could you also say whether the minister responsible for public security has reported back to cabinet on the promotion of those police ranks who are being told they might be demoted? And with regard to the $600 million, we saw the Minister of Communities coming out saying that the City Council will more than likely not get this money. Did that ever reach cabinet, or was that a decision he made on his own not to have the government bail out the City Council?
Well, there are three questions you asked there. The first one had to do with the whether, in fact, the Minister of Public Security did inform Cabinet about the promotion of those officers. Yes, in fact, the Minister did advise Cabinet that he did advise the Commissioner of Police, and I think he actually produced a legal opinion that said that those officers who were promoted by Mr. Ramnarine were to remain promoted, that there was no, the promotions should not be recalled. So that was the minister's report to cabinet. The first one was
With regards to GCOM.
with regards to GCOM. Yes, in fact, we did receive a letter from the leader of the opposition, signed by Mrs. Gail Teixeira to me, indicating that the leader of the opposition was ready to commence the proceedings for the appointment of a chairman of GCOM. The chairman, as I understand it, goes off officially at the end of November. And yes, the president has responded to the letter from the leader of the opposition. And I suppose in a short space of time, based on the law itself, the leader of the opposition will be required to submit a list of names from among which the president will have to make a choice. Once he has no objection to those names, the law requires that the president has no objection to the names. And if there's any objection, then of course the names will not go forward and he may have to come back with another set. It's a process. which requires the president's eventual agreement with the name submitted by the leader of the opposition. So those are the answers.
So he's been told to submit his names.
Pardon me?
The leader of the opposition has been told that he can submit his names now.
Well, basically, the letter was asking that we commence the process. And I think as the president will have said to him, yes, we are prepared to commence the process, and therefore he must know what he has to do.
Is $600 million?
$600 million to City Hall bailout, that did not come up at this week's cabinet, so I cannot really make a firm statement on that matter.
Sir, there's
Yes.
a list of judicial appointees currently before the president, and the president has not as yet referred that list to the Judicial Service Commission if he objects to any names on the list, but that list is still there. Also, the Local Government Commission.
Please just let me get one at a time. You're talking about a
We'll start with
list.
that one because the questions are extremely limited.
It's so extremely loaded, you said?
Extremely limited.
Or limited, I see. Okay. Yes.
So, sir, the judicial appointments.
Judicial appointments, yes.
Sir, I'm asking about the list that was submitted to the president. The president has expressed some objection to some of the persons on the list because of political reasons, but the list has not yet been referred to the Judicial Service Commission. Could you say what really is the status on that?
I'm not sure of that statement that you made there. That's not a statement that I can agree with, that the president expressed. The president said so?
Sir, let's move off of that one.
Yes, move off of it, because I think you're treading on dangerous grounds there. Yes. What else? Local government, what about the Local Government Commission?
Sir, where are we now with the government appointees or suggested nominees for the Local Government Commission?
Okay, yes, I can deal with that. The Local Government Commission, where we are right now, a list of names was submitted by the Minister of Communities to Cabinet. The law requires that the persons who are identified for the commission must satisfy some requirements. And even after that is done, it says the persons must be of high integrity. Well, that, of course, is a challenge in itself. But what has happened is that the list is going through some, well, at least the persons who are named on the list is going through some of what is called background checks, just to ensure that the persons are there, even if they're not, as the law requires, high integrity, of some integrity, so that once they go into that position, that they'll be able to function. In the meantime, we have actually started taking steps with the acquisition of building and office and equipment and so on for the commission. That is going on presently. But we have to do the background checks on the persons who have been so named by the Minister of the Communities, and it is not the Minister of Communities who's holding it up. It is because we have to ensure that the process is completed and that when we appoint persons to these positions, that they are persons of high integrity.
Has the Kuwait government accepted the credentials of convicted felon Dr. Shamir Ali? Yes. I will not comment on the quality of Dr. Shamir, whether the Kuwait government has accepted the agreement of Mr. Shamir, Dr. Shamir, yes.
The opposition has had quite a lot to say about the delay in judicial appointments. Could you comment on that? And could you say when a new ombudsman, when the process to select a new ombudsman would begin, if it hasn't already?
Yes, the process to select a new ombudsman has started. We are looking at the names of persons for that purpose. The ombudsman, there are requirements. The requirement is that that person should be either a retired justice of appeal or a judge of the High Court who is capable of becoming a justice of appeal. So what that means is that your scope is very limited in the number of persons that you can actually have in that position. I can say to you that we are, in fact, looking at it, and I did announce in the National Assembly on Monday night that by the first quarter of 2017, we will have an ombudsman in that position.
Just a follow-up, can you say how many persons are being considered?
Well, we have to look at the whole list of persons who are retired, who are persons who have been justices of appeal, or high court judges who are capable of being made justices of appeal. So that's the scope that we have, and that's what we're looking at.
And the judicial appointments?
Judicial appointments. Well, I'm not sure where we are with judicial appointments, but we are in consultations regularly with the Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice. And what I can assure you is that in a reasonable time, if there are applications for addition to the judiciary, that the President will act. The President will act once the persons who are to be named have gone through a process of being selected and identified by the Judicial Service Commission, and the recommendation has come to him.
But sir, I'm asking specifically about the 4 persons who were nominated by the Judicial Service Commission. Based on what Mr. Nandalal said yesterday, a list with 4 names was submitted to the President earlier this year. So I'm trying to ascertain what might have been the delay.
Well, Mr. Nandalal, if he is still the Attorney General, could actually say what list was submitted and when it was submitted and who submitted it. And maybe he can give you the names. But I can say to you that whatever documents in relation to the judiciary comes to the attention of His Excellency, that he moves with reasonable speed in dealing with those applications.
So sir, are you saying, just one follow-up, are you saying that nothing was submitted to the President?
No, I can't say that nothing was submitted. I'm saying to you, once it is submitted, the President moves with reasonable speed in dealing with them.
One, City Hall is indebted to the Guyana Power and Light, I think, to almost $2 billion. They're asking for a write-off. Is this something the government is prepared to do? That's one. 2, can you say what's the status with Mr. Omar Sharif? Because I haven't think we've heard anything since he was sent off. And thirdly, there was a protest in front of the Ministry of the Presidency yesterday by Surya Manufacturing. They're citing corruption at the government analyst food and drug department, particularly to Mr. Marlon Cole. Can you say whether this is something the government will look into? Because the concerns have been mounting there at the food and drug department.
Well, take the last one first. Yes, there was some protest by the company. Mr. Cole will have his story on the company, and I'm sure it will be a story which he will eventually give to the public. But the matter that, in fact, came to our attention, the Minister of Public Health, under whose remit the Department of Food and Drug falls, has called on Mr. Cole for a report on the matter so that he can conduct an investigation at that level. So that's that. But that is something which will be dealt with by an investigation. Now, the status of Mr. Omar Sharif remains on leave. The investigations continue. There have been several documents which might have been submitted, I understand, to the legal authorities, that is the DPP chamber and the police legal advisor, for advice. That is as much as I know. And I'm not prepared to go beyond that. City Hall is an independent body of persons who are elected. GPL also is a company, even though the government has the majority share, is a company. GPL is GPL Inc. So there's an elected body and a private company that's basically dealing with this issue of a write-off. So I would not comment on it, lest it be said that the government has taken a position either on behalf of the City Council or on behalf of GPL. I will say that the two bodies should meet and find some common ground which will not affect the citizens of this capital, especially at Christmas time. That they should meet and find common ground so that the people of Georgetown in particular, that they can be guaranteed that they will have an uninterrupted supply of electricity that is not connected to the payment of light bill. Thank you very much.